This episode of The Horror Basement is brought to you by Mass Destruction Clothing. Go check them out at massdestructionclothing.com.
Hi, I'm Bill Mosley, and you're in the Horror Basement with Jim Jam and Johnny Leroy. Lick my plate, you dog dick.
Welcome to The Horror Basement, the Tennessee Horror News Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Johnny Leroy. And as always, we got Jim Jam here with us.
Jim Jam and Amy here.
Oh, called her out. Also got Yeti on this podcast today. And amazing interview for you guys with Cameron Romero. He talks about Rise of the Living Dead and, you know, in the production or trying to get it going and all this other stuff. He's a really cool dude.
And now he's a Kentuckian.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he says that, so it don't matter.
We might be in a movie. Possibly.
No. Anyways, you'll hear all this, but don't forget to go follow us on all social media.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Horror Amino. And check out tnhorror.com for all your independent horror needs.
Tell all your friends.
Because we serve up horror like all over the South like gravy and biscuits, baby. But yeah, this is a good one for you.
Johnny's got to crush my dreams. I want to be in a movie and he's trying to crush my dreams.
I want you to be in a movie.
Fucking asshole. And I'm not going to dress up as a fucking baby either.
You're going to get in this horror movie as a fucking baby.
No, I'm not.
You'd be you'd be just wearing this bib, and you got the cloth diaper on, and you got the little what is that thing called?
I will. A bonnet.
A bonnet. So you even know what it's called. And you got this massive fucking pacifier, and you got blood just running down your face.
What a motherfucking zombie, baby?
No, man. And you got this bat. And you just fucking beating the shit out of people. That'd be a good fucking background. That'd be a good background person. You know, like in a fucking horror film, would it not?
Let me work out a little bit more and I'll be a jacked up baby. Look like a damn baby on steroids.
No, that's not as cute. Jacked up baby not as cute. Chubby baby cute.
You know I was wanting to say.
Chubby baby cute.
You know,
see, that's what I'm thinking. Like, anyways, you don't want to go down this road with me. You know where this goes.
This is a long fucking intro.
Well, you started it.
All right. I want to talk about, where's the book?
It's called Roadkills by Isaac Thorne.
You should check it out. We'll put the link in the description for Amazon. If it's
go check this book out.
Hopefully it's on Amazon.
It is on Amazon.
Okay. Well, I will put the link so you can buy it, and you should buy 10 copies for all your friends and family.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's all about horror shorts, and it's all about roadkills.
Because Isaac is a motherfucking man.
Yeah, he's a really great dude.
And he recently wrote...
Hit him up on Twitter, Isaac Thorne.
He recently wrote a review for us, and I'll put that link in the description too, so you can check it out, because motherfucker is an amazing writer.
Yeah, great.
Everybody we get's amazing writer, but because they're fucking with Tennessee Horror News. So, yeah. I'm sitting back too far, and you can't hear me.
No, that's how it usually goes with you.
See, now Johnny's being an asshole since no one else is on.
Yeah, that's how it was.
But, yeah. And away.
Here we go. All right, guys. So on today's podcast, we have Cameron Romero with us. It's going to be making the new movie Rise of the Living Dead, or production, right?
I believe so.
Is that correct, Cameron?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the prequel to Night of the Living Dead. Blank. But Cameron, we appreciate you coming on, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me. That prequel word gets thrown around an awful lot. I think the word I'm using is more of a prologue.
Prologue, okay.
It's I just use that a little bit more conversationally. Prequel sets a lot of expectations and
yeah,
assumes that it makes a lot of assumptions. This is a story that I wrote from my heart to my father. I wrote it back in 2010 and showed it to him, and finally got up the balls to show it to him around 2011, I think, maybe 2012. And he fired me back an email and really loved a lot of the stuff that I did with it. So, it's turned out to be a pretty hard project to get off the ground, but, it's getting there. And when I made the announcement about the new title, it seemed to get a lot of attention, both good and bad out there in the world of the internet. And, I'm just real happy that people care enough about it to have an opinion either way.
Yeah, speaking of your father, we hated to hear about his passing. He was an amazing, I guess, a creator. So, he did create a whole genre, and that's how
he did.
And that's how everybody's seen him. But how was it that you seen your dad? If I can ask.
How did I see him?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I actually have been working on. I'm writing something about just that very subject, and so that's kind of a heavy question to lead off with. But I'm down to jump into it and just kind of wing it. I saw him the same way every fan of his ever saw him, and I saw him the way every upcoming filmmaker saw him, and I saw him as my dad too, and I saw him as a pretty great person who was capable of doing things that I'll never be able to do, and a lot of people will never be able to do, and some of that comes from the time period in which he did it, and some of it comes from the fact that he had no fear. Films used to be dangerous. I say that all the time, and when Night of the Living Dead came out, there were people that condemned him, said people like him have to be stopped, that independent artists can't be given the freedom to do the kind of things that he was doing, and in my opinion, that made what he was doing back then dangerous. His commentary and everything he had to say about society and the parallels that he drew with everything that he did, and he did it fearlessly. And that's, my other little saying is the film is fearless. And those are things that I've tried to live my life by, in everything I've done. I think that's the biggest thing I've ever taken away from being able to look up to him.
Yeah, it's definitely a great person to have to look up to.
Yeah.
Hey, Eddie, you want to ask something? I know you got some questions.
Yeah, a lot of people, and I tried my hardest to stay away from this, honestly. A lot of people, oh, the son of George A. Romero and stuff like that. But what a lot of people may not realize is, you're a prolific-ass director. Films and hundreds of commercials, right?
Yeah.
Huge corporation. Between directing commercials and directing film, how does it compare working on something like a commercial to working on a full film or a short film?
Well, look, man, that's a pretty easy question to answer. The biggest comparison is just, the time and as much of your own heart and soul as you pour into it. When you make a movie, from the time you actually start shooting till the time it's finished, you're lucky if you put in, less than a year of your life into it. When you make a commercial, and even that's changed a little bit, but back when I started doing it, there was still a lot of creative filmmaking involved in it, and it was less driven by, legal teams and all of that other stuff. But, the big difference is just time, mainly. I think as a filmmaker, as a director, I think, no matter what you're shooting, you show up and you put all you have into it. But the big difference is just time. You can show up to do a commercial and shoot it out in 2 days and finish post in a couple weeks and you're done and you're moved on to the next one. Or you could, literally show up and shoot a commercial for 2 days, show up, shoot another commercial for 2 days, show up, shoot another commercial for 2 days, have them all in post and bounce from edit bay to edit bay. And so you get them all done. But when you work on a movie, especially when you write, you've got however long it takes for you to get the idea out into a script that becomes a commercially viable concept, something good enough for somebody to believe in, to put money into. And then, that could take a year, or in the case of Rise, it's taken me so far, I'm going into year 8 trying to get it, done, which is not something I'm proud of, but it's also something I'm extremely proud of because, you have to be careful. I've walked away from a lot of offers on this film because of disagreeing with, motivations of some of the people who were interested in helping me get it off the ground. And so you kind of have to stay true to what you want and what you believe in when it comes to your film, and do it the way that's going to let you sleep at night. And you know, so that could take years. And then once you start shooting, then you've got, you know, your prep, your shooting, and then your post, and it's a whole another, you know, year or more of your life to get it done. So those are the huge differences, man. You know, commercials are a lot of fun. I love doing them. But there's something about doing a film that's just, it's more of a calling, you know, that you kind of just have to answer. Otherwise it doesn't stop calling.
Oh, so it's like you got something inside you that just pushes you over and over.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was wondering, like, where does the creativity come from, you know, to want to write? I mean, like, you did commercials and you were successful at it from, you know, what I picked up off reading about you on the internet, and then you decided to go into film, you know, full-length movies. So, I mean, what was the motivation for you? Like, is that what you always wanted to do?
Well, yeah, I actually directed my first feature when I was 19. And thankfully it will never see the light of day.
So we need to see that then.
Now I need to. Can we get a screener?
But I directed my first feature when I was 19 years old.
Oh man,
there was just something about it, you know. I was in film school at the time, and I raised some money and shot a feature, and it was a hell of a learning experience. And
did you act in it?
No, hell no.
I just had to ask.
You know, my mom bought me my first camera actually when I was about 8 years old, and
oh hell yeah,
I've been
cool.
shooting. I've been shooting ever since then, you know. And so anyway, so I made this feature when I was about 19, and then, you know, I had this big artistic catharsis, and I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, then I need to really commit to doing this, which means I need to understand a whole lot more than just running around wanting to be an artist with a camera. You know, one of my favorite expressions my dad used to have when I was younger, when he and I would talk, would be, you know, well, you just don't know anything about the business yet.
Yeah.
And you just don't know anything about the business yet. You don't know anything about the business yet. And at first it kind of pissed me off a little bit, and I was like, well, I'm trying, I'm learning. And so I decided to stop having that argument and go out and actually learn the business. And that's when I kind of got really heavy into the business side of things. And I started up a small branding agency, advertising and branding agency in Pittsburgh. And that kind of turned into a life of doing commercials and learning sort of the commercial appeal and how to think in sound bites. And then what I did was I realized that was translating over into how I was coming up with ideas to make movies and ideas that I was having for movies. And I was starting to come at my concepts from a very commercial mindset while trying to figure out how to stay true to the artistic filmmaker. So, you know, in a lot of the stuff that I've been developing recently, they were all born out of what I believe to be needs in the market for independent films. And then, you know, they're kind of born from that nugget. And then I have to stay true to the part of me that won't let me sell out my creative integrity. So, you know, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of my approach.
Yeah.
You know, I try to come up with something I think I would like to watch.
Yeah.
That's not a giant
pile of dog shit.
$100 million movie.
Like a lot of the new movies out today.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. They've got their place. I enjoy them as much as the next moviegoer. But you know, when it comes to stuff I do, I've been too heavily influenced by my dad and the people that he came up with, and I'm too heavily influenced by the people who've done this outside the norm. And I just don't look at my creative process the same way I think as a lot of people. But I don't know. Maybe I do. As far as I know, everybody who's creative is fucked up in some way, and you know, I couldn't be happier about that, because it gives me my own unique perspective.
Yeah.
As long as you're staying true to yourself, though, it'll show in your work.
That's it.
I mean,
That's it.
What is your favorite genre or whatever to make, direct, or whatever is? Because I know horror is its own, it's got, but it branches off to so many different things.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I love making a horror movie as much as the next guy. There's something to be said about throwing 5-gallon buckets of blood on people and getting together with your friends and coming up with different ways to try to shock an audience. Absolutely, I love that stuff. It's absolutely the most fun you'll ever have making a movie is making a horror movie. But personally, I think my favorite thing to play around with when I write and when I develop new projects is things that are a little more psychological.
Like thriller, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. I like to do things I like to explore things that have built-in fears. So, in other words, I like to take something that I know there's a massive fear out there in the world of, and then try to play around within the rules of that fear so that I can affect an audience on more than one level. I like to try to affect them, deeply in something that might be a deep-rooted fear of theirs, like claustrophobia or drowning, and then play within that and give them something to really think about inside that fear. A lot of the projects I'm working on getting off the ground here are sort of in that realm. And then Rise is its own completely unique animal that I don't even know that I can classify it in one particular genre. But most of the stuff I'm working on is definitely in the psychological type thriller arena.
Okay, my wife is sitting here. I'm going to throw it out there. What are you doing that for?
now
I guess
she's shy,
yeah.
but she was asking, do you fashion your zombies after your father's type of zombies?
Well, that's actually a really hard question for me to answer right now in a public forum.
Yeah,
and the reason for that is because Rise actually takes place prior to my dad's work. And I can tell you that I'm very proud of it. It is something that pays attention to all of not only the rules that my father set forth, but the rules that he and his partners set forth with the original Night. The rules that have become canon in the whole genre. And it pays attention to, I think, what all of the fans of him and his work have wanted to see one way or another. So, without really getting into too much detail about the creatures themselves,
that's understandable.
I can tell you that I think everybody will really enjoy what we're doing with this one.
Oh yeah,
it's actually really something special.
All right,
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Are you in I guess it's still in pre-production, right? Or have you started filming anything yet?
No, we haven't started filming yet. Those announcements will be coming out very soon. I'm kind of like a kid, in a candy store right now. I'm chomping at the bit to push these announcements out.
Yeah.
But as we kind of push through to finalize agreements and all of this other stuff, I'm just kind of like waiting and biding my time, which was, I was hoping I was going to be able to drop some awesome announcements here with you guys tonight, but things didn't kind of push through as quickly as I wanted them to by yesterday. So I've got some more things coming up this week, and hopefully some big announcements coming right around the holiday.
You can still link that to us, and then like when it's official, you can still tell us, and we'll still announce it for you.
Yeah, sounds great, man.
I'll definitely write it up.
Yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, he'd be more than happy to do a write up about it.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great. It's real nice to meet you guys and know you guys, man. I think you guys are awesome.
Appreciate it. Any way you can do some filming in Tennessee so we maybe can make a cameo in there?
I actually was, there was a time not long ago I was looking at Tennessee. But I've actually recently set up a Kentucky division of my production company.
Kentucky, come on,
and,
man!
That ain't that far from
us.
us.
Yeah, it ain't that far, man. It's just a quick little drive. I mean, one of y'all's in Knoxville, right? I mean, that's like that's a couple hours away.
Yeah,
yeah, it's worth it.
I could come photobomb a zombie or whatever your creatures will be.
Yeah,
I could come football tackle one. I'm a pretty big dude.
I'll tell you what, we get it off the ground. You guys come up and do a little something. It would be a lot of fun.
Shit, that'd be awesome.
Right on. That'd be great.
I was truly joking, but hell yeah, I will take you up on that offer.
Yeah, man.
I truthfully, I just want to see what it's like on a movie set. I've never.
Yeah,
I say it has to be.
It's the most beautifully hostile environment in the world.
I don't want to be like the director or never one of that. I just want to see what you would have to go through. Like, I'm glad I'm not doing this job.
No, it's fun as hell, man.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for the world. You know, a good friend of mine produced a couple of really big movies, and I'm not a name dropper, so I won't do that. But he produced some really big movies, and he's kind of a producing hero of mine, and I got to become friends with him. And I remember one day he looked at me. We were standing literally on an ocean out there in Santa Monica, and he looked at me and he said, "You know what? No matter what anybody tells you, no matter what anybody says about what you've done, you have made some movies, you have directed, you have breathed rarefied air." And that kind of stuck with me, you know? I mean, I never really thought about it like that, but, you know, I think of any job I could have ever dreamt of having, I think this is probably the best one in the world. And you know, it really is. It's a whole different perspective. It changes your perspective on life. It changes your perspective on everything that you do. When after you've directed a film, you don't look at rooms the same way. You don't look at parties the same way. You don't look at anything the same way. You don't look at going to the store the same way. You shoot everything in your head and nonstop. And that's something that, you know, that's kind of afflicted me my whole life since I was a little kid. And I never understood it till I directed my first feature. And then I understood it even more as my career went on. And it's just, it's a really unique perspective on the world around you. When you've been lucky enough to be able to direct a movie. And, it just changes the way you look at everything, man. And it's beautiful. You know, it really is.
So you're in California, right?
No, I'm in Kentucky right now, man. I've been here about a year.
Okay, well, your number popped up, a California number is why I said that.
Well, my company still operates out of Santa Monica and also here in Kentucky near Lexington.
Well, hell yeah, man. We might have to come
Did you grow up in California?
I didn't. Well, again,
I mean, is that too much of a personal question? Or?
I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I tell everybody I got older in Pittsburgh, but I grew up in L.A.
Okay.
You know, so because you grow up pretty quick out there.
I say it's pretty crazy out there, right? You always
and I spent about the last 15 years straight out there, and until I went on tour with a good buddy of mine, who's a country singer, and crossed the country with him about year and a half to almost 2 years ago now, and we hit 46 states in I think 16 weeks or something, shooting a little documentary about his experiences. And
good God,
and man, Kentucky just was amazing, and you know, it doesn't hurt that I met, you know, somebody really amazing here.
Oh yeah, there you
go. Yeah, and you know, life is beautiful, man. Life is great.
They got good bourbon in Kentucky too. So.
Well, I just read today they got more barrels of bourbon here than people in the whole state.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm a bourbon man myself. Like I prefer bourbon over. I don't care for the Tennessee whiskey much.
I prefer bourbon over people. So
yeah.
I prefer sweet tea.
You're just a good old Southern boy.
Unfortunately, I'm allergic to alcohol, so.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, how do I live my life, right, Yeti? No, I'm joking. I get high on life, so. And then Tennessee Horror News helps, too. Because this is, I mean, my wife can attest to this. I've done other things in the past, and it seems like this has took off a lot more than anything I've ever done.
Well, that's awesome.
More. But, and two, that's awesome. You know, like Johnny says all the time, we found that people in the horror genre are just...
amazing people.
They play like psychotic killers and whatever on film, but they're the nicest people you'll ever meet.
I know that's real, man. That's the truth.
So,
that is the absolute truth.
Down to earth people. They're wanting to get back to the fan base, the community. I guess the horror community.
It's because we do it because we have to. We do it because we don't do it because of a paycheck. We don't do it to get famous. We don't do it to get rich. We do it because we don't have any other fucking choice.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to get out. It's got to get out of your heart, and it's got to get out of your head, and it's got to get out in the world. And you know, that's why horror people make horror, because we love it.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I see that all the time. But one thing I was going to point out, and I don't know, the end of February, we're doing a convention in Chattanooga. And it would be awesome if you would want to come out and just hang out with us and shit.
Yeah, man, that sounds like a lot of fun. I love Chattanooga.
Yeah, it's called Con Nooga. It's like a multi-fandom thing. But we got a big presence in the horror track of it. So
This year they're doing a panel.
yeah, we're doing a horror show.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
They're doing a panel about his dad.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, there you go.
George
I
Dimmick,
was-
right? George Dimmick.
Yeah, George Dimmick.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Hit me up when it gets time.
Yeah, they're going to do a panel talking about your dad.
I guess his life. Or,
Yeah, like stories about him and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around now.
Yeah,
But I was mainly because we're doing a horror short panel
yeah.
where we're going to have. Right now, we're trying to get people to
Submit short
directors
films.
to send in their horror shorts, and we're just going to play them, and then have interviews with the directors or writers or whatever after. And then we're also going to be screening 3 movies,
Is it 3?
2 or 3, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I just figured, you're not. I guess Kentucky ain't too far from Chattanooga, but
No, it's not. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, man. You know, and I love what you're doing with the shorts and the directors. You know, I do a lot of work with young filmmakers, and I mentor a handful of young guys, and
Hell yeah.
and it's really, really rewarding. You know, I love doing what I can to help. You know, I mean, over my life, I've learned a whole hell of a lot about this business, how it works, how to get ideas out of your head, how to turn them into commercially viable ideas, what to do. I actually just launched for the first time. I just launched a thing on Patreon to kind of offer that to people who may be interested, which I've never really done before. I don't really know how that's going to work out, but I have a handful of guys that I work with on a one-on-one basis, and I work with them from everything from screenwriting to directing to just kind of understanding the nature of the industry, and work with them to teach them how to pitch and how to develop and how to go after investors. And it's really awesome, man. It's really rewarding, and I love it. I love getting a phone call from one of my guys saying, hey, look, thank you so much. I just, raised $15,000 to make my short film, and
15.
and to them, that's their first time they're going to climb Mount Everest, and little do they know that once they do it the first time, then the rest of their life is going to be spent trying to climb a bigger Everest. But it's really rewarding, and it's amazing.
$15,000 for a short film.
I need to raise $15,000 to help support Tennessee Horror News.
Yeah.
But,
Damn, $15,000.
hey, speaking of that, I think Yeti, don't you have a question that goes along with that or something?
Yeah, actually, I've got a few more actually, but
Go ahead.
The one that's pertinent right now is your direct to audience program. Is that something you're still doing?
You know what? That was something that I was testing the waters with. That's something I'm going to come out with again pretty hard, probably at the end of next year. That was kind of a test market thing. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I've done is I'm working on launching that in connection with a not-for-profit that I'm launching for veterans, called the Veterans Compound, that is designed to basically, I tried to join the Marines several times when I was young, and they found my asthma and my flat feet every time I tried, and they wouldn't take me. And so I've dedicated a lot of my life to trying to work with vets and help where I can and help them kind of process a lot of their trauma. And so I've come up with this organization called the Veterans Compound that essentially, right now we don't have any funding, so it's just a few guys that I can personally work with, and as much time as I can dedicate to them. And I essentially teach them how to channel sort of their trauma into creative outlets with regard to film and television. I teach them how to write a screenplay and how to, grip and rig and light and shoot and all of that other stuff. And so the crowd control thing is going to come hand in hand with that pretty hard, because the idea behind it is that, I want to eventually get to a point where we're making movies that are completely made, written, conceived, and executed by vets, in which they actually then own a large portion of their own films, so that when the films get sold, they actually have sort of a longer term, financial plan to put some money in their pocket when films sell, and that's something that I really think that people are going to get behind, in terms of wanting to put some effort into helping, and so basically the concept behind it is and they're micro investments, and the idea being that put $100 into a movie and you help a vet and you get something out of it. So in other words, if you put $100 into a movie and it translates to 0.25% ownership of the film, then your 0.25 ownership will get split 50-50 with you and a vet type thing.
Hell yeah.
It's still in the kind of the planning phases, but I've been doing a lot of work individually with a lot of these guys and who become dear friends of mine, and it is something that will take off. But with everything going on right now with Rise and a lot of other things, I'm kind of probably not going to be revisiting that super hard until the end of next year. I'm probably going to 2019 with a big launch.
That's a killer plan, man, and it's something that we need. Like as a society, as a whole, like we're not taking care of our vets, so it's good to see somebody who's stepping up and being like, okay, I have this plan. And that comes from a family of veterans, and that's awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, we can't do what we can't do. I'm not in a position where I can go donate buildings and do all of this other stuff, and a lot of people aren't. But there are a lot of people out there who really do care and want to do what they can, and so that's the whole point of that effort. Anybody who can will be able to do whatever they can and see direct results. So
Really cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I have one more that's completely off topic, but turns out I rewatched Staunton Hill the other night because I had seen it before, apparently, and forgot. So I watched Staunton Hill the other night, and I watched it again, apparently, because I was doing research, and I saw a little tidbit that said that there was a scene from that movie, and was like a 2-minute uninterrupted shot of a beheading.
Yep. That
made somebody barf on set.
Yep.
I want to know, A, what it was like to shoot that, and B, is that like completely lost, or like, because I want to see that.
No, I got it, man. I got it. I got a copy of it. And and what it was like to shoot it, I can tell you that pretty much when I yelled cut, I think that was the first time a lot of people in my life might have thought of me as some sort of psychotic. I yelled cut, and one of the guys on the crew was throwing up into a bucket, and somebody took a picture of me, and I had this smile on my face that was ear to ear, man. And I mean, I was just laughing my ass off. Because I mean, you got to realize it was like probably 30 degrees outside, so a lot of the gags were not working in the cold weather. I mean, the armature on the neck wasn't snapping, and the blood wasn't pumping the way it was supposed to. And thankfully, the actor had a lot of experience from the world of wrestling, so he was really good at selling all of these visual gags, and and we only had enough money to make the one effect, and so I pulled him aside beforehand, and I knew about all these problems, and I said, look, man, I can't guarantee this is going to go real smooth, but we only got one shot at this, so literally just don't stop until you hear me yell cut. Just go with it and do whatever you got to do. And so he did, and he ends up sawing this dummy's head off. It must have lasted 2 minutes, something like that. Yeah, maybe a little more. And
can we
the
say
effects
this,
guys
please?
there's the effects guys are pumping the blood, and they're running out of blood, and the effects guys are bringing the new buckets and trying to get it so that the flow doesn't stop. And It was just it was a mess, and
It was amazing.
I can see why you'd be grinning ear to ear because it's like, oh man, that was fucking awesome.
yeah, and we
Just to see
got it,
everybody
and
moving
yeah,
and
and we
doing the
got
shit.
it, and
There's
I was just so happy about it, and then the MPAA and a bunch of other people made me cut it down, and
fuck them.
so it came out to be like, a few seconds.
So would it have been an NC-17 movie if that would have been in it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, it would have been. And it was great because at the end, then the armature wasn't breaking, so he kind of had to like twist it and finish sawing and kind of snap the neck, and it was just unbelievable. And then when me and the sound guy, Jerry, we started working on the sound design for the scene, and we had to keep the door closed. People kept coming by saying, "Can you just turn that down? I can't hear it. It's terrible." And it was one of my favorite moments in the movie. And
Is it? I guess is this like a director's cut for this movie or something that's in, or is it not in none of them?
no, there's all kinds of different edits of that movie, man. That was one of those. Let's see, decision by committee films at the end of the day that I would show people edits of the film, and then because there were so many people involved, I'd have to sit in these committee decision rooms and ultimately just kind of do what was going to make a lot of other people happy. Which I stand by the film, and I'm really proud of what I ended up doing. I ended up turning that film into basically my own love letter to sort of the movies from the 70s that I fell in love with, and I love what it turned out to be. But it is quite different than what it started out to be.
So was that shot like when he skins old girl and then lops her head off? That's where that fits in.
Yeah.
Oh God, that scene was. It was my wife and my roommate were watching it with me, and they were both like, "Jesus Christ." yeah. It holds up, man. It holds up.
Thank you, man. That whole scene was a lot longer too. The whole skinning and everything. It was rough, man. It was a rough scene. Like there were some people that in the studio that couldn't watch it, and that just made me smile and laugh even harder.
Hey,
you got the most visceral reaction ever. You know what?
Where can I find this movie? Because I'm gonna have to watch it now. Is it on Netflix there, or is that too violent for Netflix?
I don't know. I honestly don't know where you can see it nowadays.
Yeah. I don't even need to ask where you got it. So.
I got that where I got everything else, man.
But I guess I'll just look on Amazon or something. Maybe the video store. We actually got a video store in our town, so I'll see if they have it.
That'd be cool.
If you don't, holler at me and I'll point you in the right direction.
All right. I think Cameron probably knows what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, I ain't too. I ain't confused.
I don't think anybody is.
We're not going to promote that though, because Cameron will take a money, motherfucker. But anyways,
Piracy is wrong, people. Wrong. Don't do it.
Right. That's right.
You wouldn't download a car, would you?
You know what? I ain't going to see a dime from any of the copies that y'all buy. So I don't really care how you watch it. Just watch it.
okay. Well, I might have to bootleg it.
I've heard that from I'm a big death metal guy, so I've heard that from a lot of death metal acts. They're like, I don't care if you buy it, if you borrow it from your friend, if you get it from Pirate Bay. I don't care as long as you listen to it and you enjoy it. Do it. I've done my job for the day.
Yeah, just help get it out in the world further. That movie took a couple of years to find an audience because. At first everybody was like, oh, who the fuck does George Romero's son think he is? He thinks daddy can whatever and whatever. And, that was not the case, actually, with anything in my entire life. And so I worked my ass off on that. And I think a lot of people finally realized that. And it found its own audience a couple of years after it came out. And I get a lot of messages about that film, people loving it and realizing, what I was trying to do and really liking it for what it is. And it warms my heart, So I put a lot of me into that.
Well, I'll probably be messaging you as I watch it. Like, what the fuck were you thinking? No.
Please do.
Please do.
If you have Twitter, I'll live tweet while watching it, or I can do it on Facebook too. It don't matter where I do it, but yeah.
It's brutal.
I'll add you to because we got a Tennessee Horror News group. I don't think I've added you to it, but because it seems like the pages you don't get notifications like the groups do.
Yeah.
I'll add you to the Tennessee Horror News group so you can see what we do post. But yeah. So, besides directing and making movies, what do you enjoy watching?
Anything I can get my hands on, man. I've devoured movies since I was much too young to watch a lot of the movies I was watching. I like anything that I can really feel the filmmaker's presence when I watch it.
So, are you a big fan of The Little Mermaid then?
The Little Mermaid, I am actually the little crabby guy. Yeah, that's right up my alley.
Sebastian, there you go.
The only thing I know about The Little Mermaid.
So who's the Disney fan on this call?
Well, I had a little sister that would watch them.
No, shut the fuck up.
Hey, but my favorite movie of cartoon movie is the Goofy movie. I love.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I love that movie.
I love a lot of that old shit, man. I really do. I literally do. You know, I'm not bagging on anything. I love all film. You know, even bad movies, man. Like even movies that the world hates, I can find something redeeming in them.
Well, you should check it. You should check out Morbid.
That's why I don't think I could be a good movie critic, because I always look for the good in a movie. I try to really look like, well, this is a low budget movie. It's not going to be as good as, I always try to find. So I don't know.
That's like a local director we know made a movie called Morbid.
He spent $500 on that movie.
$500, pretty much
did a full feature film, and you got a release on it.
He has a Play-Doh dildo in it.
Yeah,
that's how he made the.
I saw one of these big budget pieces of garbage years and years and years ago, with big names in it, and it was a piece of garbage. I'm not going to name the film because I'm talking shit on it, but I will say this: there's a shot in this movie that I'm not going to be happy until I can figure out how to achieve something of that epic scale in my own career. There's a shot where this guy gets shot off the roof of this building, and the cameraman literally jumps off the building with the stunt guy and had a harness around him and followed the guy from the roof of the building down to literally just before they cut out, just before he impacts the ground at the bottom, or I think he landed on a cop car or something like that. And the shot just follows this guy down through his whole fall. And first of all, the cameraman's got balls of steel.
Yeah, that's what I'm sitting here, like I'm trying to picture this scene.
I guess this was before the days of drones too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the shot itself is just the ability for him to keep it in frame, keep it in focus, everything. I mean, it was a technological marvel for me. And
did you figure out his name so you can ask him yourself?
Yeah, I find all of I track down a lot of those guys. In fact, that's how I met literally my cinematography hero and mentor, a guy named Shane Hurlbut, who's going to be shooting Rise with me. It was epic. I mean, he's an epic cinematographer, and he was judging this competition years ago that a camera company was putting on, and so I combed through the rules to make sure that it was okay for me to enter, since I was technically, earning a living as a filmmaker, and I guess that qualifies you as a pro in the eyes of some of these competitions. And so I did my digging and did my research and found out I was free and clear to enter this thing. And I went out and I made this little short film just to, I figured, what the hell, man, there's no way I'm going to win, but at least this guy who I've looked up to as a cinematographer for how many years of my life is going to be contractually obligated to watch my work. And that's what happened. And he and I became friends, and he messaged me and said he liked it. And I said, well, will you meet me for a burger? And we met and talked, and the rest is history. And we've been friends ever since. And I mean, a 15-minute conversation with this guy, and you learn more than 2 years of film school. And it's It's amazing. It's.
Did you tell him that story though?
Oh yeah.
When you first met him, like, hey, dude, I was kind of stalking you, so I made it to where you had to watch my stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, I did. I'm not known for hiding hiding my feelings or emotions. And I'm not known for my bullshit either. So,
hell yeah,
I'm pretty straightforward.
Oh, hell yeah.
But
I know.
yeah, man.
I seen your credits that you've done some short films. So, are they on YouTube or something so we can check out?
Yeah, they're around. They might be. I think they were on my old website, actually. I just launched a new one for Romero Pictures. I don't think I put them on there yet. I'm eventually going to get that stuff back out there. But I guarantee you, if you search for it, you'll find it.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Shorts are tough because, when what was it that Orson Welles said? A writer needs a pen, an artist needs a painter needs a brush, and a filmmaker needs an army.
that's true.
It's shorts are a tough animal to crack. They're amazing
But I guess,
learning grounds for filmmakers, but they still require money to do them, even if that money is $500 or even if that money is $15,000 or whatever it is, depending on your concept scale. And when you go out and you ask people to borrow money for shorts, I mean, it's really hard to explain to them how you're going to give it back to them. And
do you make money back from shorts?
no, not really.
I mean, the whole thing about a short film though is maybe it'll catch on and become a feature film,
Kind of like
correct?
Lights Out did, which they did terrible after.
But is that not
The short is so much better than the feature.
But is that not what the short film would be for?
I don't know.
No?
I think there's some cases where that's the hope.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's really the motivation for a lot of people to make them. I think a lot of people just make them because they gotta, they're trying to prove themselves. They're trying to show the world what they can do, and it makes sense because at the end of the day, you can take 3 or 4 friends, or 1 friend, or 2 friends, and in a dark room, and make a short film, and that's something that's a huge accomplishment, And if you've never done it before, it's a major win.
Yeah, also because I guess to get your point across and do it in 5-6 minutes or 10 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they're beautiful. They're amazing art forms. It's just hard to kind of make a business case for them, and I like to mitigate the risk of my investors as much as humanly possible. I mean, investing in entertainment is inherently risky, but I like to mitigate that risk as much as humanly possible, and create the best business case I can create for everything that I go out and talk to investors about being a part of.
Yeah,
short films, it's harder to do that with short films. It's harder to say, hey man, I'm going to make this movie and I might get it in some festivals, but I'll never be able to pay you back. But thanks.
Yeah. Eventually, though, when I make a feature film, I'll hit you back up.
I'll give you executive producer credit.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people do. They'll look at their investors and say, look, if you help me do this and then it launches anything for me or I get to the next point, I'll give you an equity ownership stake in some project of mine and to say thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one thing about the short film side is, last year, I think, from what I understand, the horror short panel we had was the most successful out of all the horror tracks. So that made me feel amazing knowing the fact that something we did was the most successful thing pretty much they've done for the horror part.
Yeah. That's really cool.
I just think people are interested in it. I mean, in watching short films and seeing what new artists are coming up with the new creators.
They definitely are.
And
there's a huge market for it in the festival circuits. There's a huge market for it, and now, honestly, with Vimeo and YouTube and all these different ways for creators to monetize their content, even what I'm saying 2 minutes ago is less relevant than it was 5 years ago. Because you can make short content and you can put it on Vimeo and you can charge 99 cents to watch it. And a lot of times you will make your money back, and a lot of times you'll even make a profit. And, I mean, that's what's kind of beautiful about where we're going in terms of this kind of massive distribution, the sort of mesh of internet distribution that is becoming huge. It's allowing for people to self-market, self-distribute, raise awareness by themselves for their own projects, and really do something great for their careers through a medium that prior and leading up to these recent years has really just been about recognition more than about making money. And I think it's cool because, I think the most important thing that a lot of filmmakers don't realize is that if you want to be a filmmaker, you have to be an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be a good businessman.
Yeah.
And, I think they go hand in hand, especially more now today than ever. So that's kind of where I stand on that, and it's an exciting time to be a filmmaker.
Yeti?
Man, everything else I had pretty much covered.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
Really.
Awesome.
Well, hell yeah, man.
Listen, man, I really like what you guys do. I think you guys are great. If, anytime you want to talk, just, hit me up. It doesn't have to be formal all the time. If you want me to, write anything for you or anything like that in terms of answers or do any, forums or anything like that, question and answers or stuff like that, I'm happy to do it for you guys. You guys are awesome.
Hell yeah, man. We appreciate that.
Incredible, thanks.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's amazing.
Well, maybe one day you just come on the podcast and just bullshit with us.
Yeah. Anytime.
We do that a lot.
Yeah.
Anytime, man. Seriously, anytime. Don't hesitate.
All right, cool, man. Appreciate that, Cameron.
If you heard our any of our other ones where we don't have a guest or nothing, we usually just veer off into everything else. Right, Johnny?
No worries,
Oh, yeah.
man.
Especially wrestling.
Nuts. Anyways.
Well, all right, then. Count me in.
Hell yeah. Well, we appreciate it, man, and can't wait to
Hear more news
come.
on what's coming out.
Yeah. If you want to.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you guys very much, man. And
What were you saying, Yeti?
So we all look good by comparison. It's all gravy.
Well, Johnny makes me look. Well, no, Johnny makes me look bad.
I look bad. It don't matter.
Johnny's usually an asshole to me. He was actually kind of sweet today.
Well, I'm listening to the stories.
Yeah,
Cameron don't tell bullshit stories. He don't
I
have dumb
appreciate it,
stories.
Cameron. You kept him off my back for today.
all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you all very much, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Yeah, Cameron,
All
appreciate
right,
it.
you
bro.
do the same. See you guys.
See ya.
All right, guys. So that was Cameron Romero. Amazing dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like, straight up.
Oh shit! What are you gonna correct me?
Yeah, she was going to correct you on a lot of stuff. But anyways, so
People love me the way I
Cameron
am.
Romero, an amazing guy. Got a lot of information out of him.
Yeah.
On quite a bit of things on how he
Try to get
works and how he
exclusive.
well, but like you said, I think he'll still do stuff for us or
I'm making-
give us stuff to release. Hopefully, as long as we keep in contact. And like Yeti said, he'd be more than happy to write that shit up.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat.
I give my wife high anxiety. Apparently,
Now you know how I feel. Your kids give me high anxiety.
Not prepared.
so, why do I need to be prepared when we got Johnny and Yeti?
Yeah.
No. She don't understand. We're never prepared.
No,
my
like that one part.
This is
you
how
put on-
every interview goes.
Hey, I'm gonna take a picture of the notes she wrote down and send to you,
This
Yeti.
is like
All right.
and horror. Okay.
Oh shit.
Is that?
That was
should y'all not be
awesome.
like
Hey,
horror
I'm gonna
Hey.
get the hell off here.
All right, man.
And
All right, see you, Yeti.
Appreciate you coming on,
you guys
man.
have a good one. Hey man, this was tops, man. It was great.
Oh yeah, it was a good time.
Oh,
We appreciate it,
we'll
man.
do it
We'll-
again soon.
all right, man. We'll holler at you.
See you, bro.
All right.
Yeah, guys. So amazing interview. Like we say all the time, check this out on Scurryface,
Yeah.
Scurryface Radio, Scurryface.com, SCURRY Face, Scurry.
What face?
Yeah, well, SCURRY Face. Right?
Yeah.
I'm just spelling it out because it's scurry, not scary. And from 9 to 10?
9 to 10.
9 to 10 every day. a.m.,
As
not
long
p.m.
as I get this to them before Monday,
Yeah,
which I
well,
usually do.
and also on all the other social medias, hit us up, follow us, like us, comment on us,
Faux shizzle.
and yeah,
I guess that's all we got. We out.
peace.
Amy, you want to say anything?
Nuggets.
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 Maggots or nuggets?
Nuggets.
Nuggets.
She said maggots. Why are you saying maggots?
I said nuggets.
It sounds like you're saying maggots.
Nuggets.
Okay.
Nuggets.
But we appreciate it. That's all we got. We out.
Peace.